It's the first annual Tony's, not that one, award show presented by the Meat Speak podcast and the certified Angus beef brand. With special mentions of Brett Sawyer and Good Company, the braised beef shank, Glenn Wheeler of Spencer's in Omaha, and also featuring a performance from meat scientist Diana Clark's Solid Gold Dancers. And now your hosts, Bryan Chef and Tony Biggs. Back here on the Meat Speak podcast, powered by the certified Angus beef brand, Bryan Chef Tony Biggs. Chef, how you doing?
I am great. How are you today?
I feel good. I'm a little disappointed you didn't wear your tuxedo for this.
Oh, I should have in my bow tie, my red bow tie, and my red slippery slippers from the Wizard of Oz. Okay, I should have wore those.
Right? Oh, it's a big day, right? For the second year in a row. One of the things that I have gotten to play, right? I get a lot of questions. Generally, it's around like, what do you do? Or I should actually more accurately state that, what do you do? Right?
You do a lot.
I show up, I drink coffee, I eat
burgers.
Stuff, right?
You're really good at what you do. You're a musician. Let me pour on the accolades. You don't have to do this to yourself. You're a great musician. Man. Oh my gosh, especially Beatles tunes. Unbelievable. You are a burger connoisseur. I mean, of the extreme.
That just means I eat a lot.
All I have to do is, where's the best burger? You know exactly where it is. All right. You work the room better than anybody. Getting chefs to come here to certified Angus beef. You're a master of this, buddy.
Man,
Give me 5. Give me
Chef,
a pump fist.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you saying that, right? Unfortunately, there's no award for that.
And you're such a lovable teddy at the same time.
I am like a big, squishy, bearded teddy bear. But that said, for the second year, one of the things that I have gotten to do for a number of years now is I always attend the James Beard Foundation Awards, which generally happen, the restaurant awards at least, happen in early May, right? You go, you get your tuxedo, and it's fun, right? And the after party is always a good time, right? But for the second year in a row, last year obviously with the pandemic, they canceled it because it's a very large, couple thousand people event at the Lyric Opera House in Chicago every year, and this year they decided to take the year off, not necessarily I think as much because they were concerned about the crowd size, but more so. It's difficult to give out awards based on what has happened over the past year. The real award, I guess, is if you are a restaurateur and you were in business before the pandemic and you're looking around and you're still in business today, congratulations. I mean, because it's real difficult to call out best, better, whatever in an awards format. But that said, we want to take some time and give some recognition, at least through our show. We don't really have any awards that we can hand out, although I will come and drink a cocktail with you at some point.
I appreciate you naming the award after me, the Tony
Awards.
That's right. I really do, the
Tonys.
Tonys.
Yes, yeah. So this is the first annual Tonys Awards. Now, right, we're gonna put in parentheses after it and say not that Tony's, right? Because we don't want a lawsuit on it.
We don't want a lawsuit. No, we don't.
Yeah.
So the Tony B Awards. That's not bad.
Yeah,
right?
So we want to call out and as I think about awards and things like that, I think about actually, it was said on a podcast all about burgers a year ago with our pal Brett Sawyer from Good Company in Cleveland, who makes a phenomenal burger called The Good Boy.
He's a great guy.
He's a great guy, but he said, we don't concern ourselves with being the best. We concern ourselves with being your favorite, which to me makes awards and things like that feel even better because to say your best is a very subjective thing, right?
Sure,
but
exactly.
Everything's subjective, right? We all have our different favorites as we.
But it's more than the food to be a favorite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, Bryan? It's the person who owns it. It's the service. Do people remember your name? Do you are they on top of their game when you walk in?
Yeah.
You're a customer. So there's so much to that, right? Being a favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great point.
Right. So Brett Sawyer, we're following your we're following your lead here, and we want to take a moment to kind of celebrate the meatiest moments of the past year, because honestly, after everything that's happened, we need some reasons to celebrate here. So I would like to start out, right, and we're not going to talk about people right now, but we are going to talk about cuts, right, because I know we have a lot of people who listen, and I just think it's a good idea to throw some of your ideas out there, Chef. I would like to recognize your favorite alternative cut. And we're talking about alternatives. We're not talking about things like middle meats, right? If you go into any steakhouse, right, and you see, of course, the bastions, right, the tenderloin, the ribeye, the strip, we're looking for what's outside of that really sort of tickles your fancy, Chef.
I'll tell you, and if you haven't followed my Instagram, it's Chef Tony Biggs on Instagram, one word. We started doing the hind shank a couple of years ago. And once we got this cut, it was like all of a sudden the ideas, the creativeness started coming out of all of us, the chefs, and not only did we braise it and prepare it for long cooking times, but after that we said, okay, what else can we do with this? And we made a hind shank beef Wellington that was just epic. We served it for 400 of our guests at an annual conference. They went goo goo gaga over it. It can feed 6 to 8 folks. It's inexpensive. It's just a long cooking process. But boy, when you get that cut at your table and you have that marrow bone sticking out of the puff pastry, it's just unbelievable. It's just magical. Well, Culinary Solutions out of Virginia, they're a big sous vide operation, and my friend Gerard is the director there. He saw this. He reached out to me. I sent him some hind shanks. They have sous vide them, and now they're just selling like hotcakes all over the country. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to be doing Barrels and a Monkey at Grand Cayman, and that cut is going to be the hind shank coming out of the fire barrels.
It's fantastic, Chef. Hind shank, right? It's highly, actually, I'll tell you what, it's so highly underrated. We actually devoted an entire podcast to it back in season 1 with our pal Vinoy Rogers from American
I love
Kitchen.
Vinoy.
Yeah, he takes it. He uses it for so many different applications, right? Obviously served as a traditional shareable dish, but then he also peels some of the meat off it, folds it into different dishes as you go. You know what my favorite thing about hind shank is?
What's that?
Marrow.
Oh, marrow me tomorrow, will you, Brian? It is just glorious.
Right? You said it's like it's like when you get a Papa John's pizza.
Yeah, you get the little pepper and the butter or the margarine or the garlic margarine.
Yeah.
Hey, Gerard should just put that a little marrow in a little plastic bag, and here you go. Don't waste it.
Yeah. I love marrow. I would put marrow on everything. I am probably for about the 3rd year in a row continue to be completely enamored with the culotte, right? The top sirloin cap, right? Sirloin is good. The culotte, which is considered part of the culotte, even better.
That's your favorite? That's your favorite?
I love a culotte.
Yeah, I like culotte steaks.
Yeah, you can do anything with it, right? You can steak it out. You can dry roast it.
I love it.
You can, of course, it's the cut. It's the la picanha,
but
right?
Picanha, put it on swords, a little bit of pineapple, roasted vegetables, carve it right there at table side.
Yeah.
We did that a couple of weeks ago, by the way. It was just magical.
Yeah,
they were crazy.
Yeah, it's so good. I actually had it up at Costella up in Bay City, Michigan, which is a Churrasco-based restaurant.
You bet your Churrasco.
You bet was it delicious? You bet Churrasco it was. So I would highly, 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 if you have not played with the culotte, do so, right?
It's amazing.
Yeah, and I know she's not here, but Diana would even possibly recommend if you buy the whole top butt, right? It's going to bring down the cost of everything. If you can find a use for the rest, I mean, it's sirloin, right? Center cut sirloin. If you can find a home for that, right? You could steak it, you can grind it, you can do whatever. And you can break it down. It's pretty easy to break down yourself.
Well, remember what we did a couple of years back, and it's I've gotten some requests, is the culottes.
Yes.
Okay, the culottes.
The beef prosciutto.
We have made a beef prosciutto with old world classic brines, such with salt, sugar, fruits, and different herbs and spices. We left that in a brine for 21 days, and then we put it into our dry age cooler. And it cuts and tastes like butter. This is where the Bostonian comes out of me. Butter.
Put it on a slicer. Oh, it just melts on your tongue.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. All right, let's turn this on its head. Your favorite use of an alternative use of a mainstream cut, right? Now we're going to narrow down the field into your ribs, your strips, your tenders, right? I personally saw, and I love this because it's something that Chef Michael Ollier, right, who's appeared on the podcast a couple times, swears by, is you get a whole strip loin, right? Mm-hmm. You take it lengthwise and you cut it vertically or lengthwise, mm-hmm. right? You cut it into 2 barrels, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. And at the holiday season, and this is where it really jumped off of me, our buddy Todd Johns at Plowboys in Kansas City was doing a holiday take-home meal, right? It's a pandemic. You're blowing through a lot of product. You're doing a lot of takeout. And if you notice, and if you're listening to this, chances are you're probably aware of this, rib prices around the holidays get a little high, right? So what's an alternative to the rib? Well, strips are coming down, right? Have you ever said, strip steak is terrible? No, of course not.
It's my favorite.
It's phenomenal, right? So instead of doing a rib, do a strip, right? Simple swap out, save some bucks, and it's going to be fantastic. And you can make some serious money on it. So I love the split strip. It's so nice seeing it finally come to fruition because poor Michael Ollier has been preaching this for years. So, yeah.
I tell you, my favorite, we've done this a couple years back. People are still using it. Well, now that you are talking about the rib, we're going to bring the rib back in this conversation. And I have to tell you, the deconstructed ribeye is probably my favorite, where we take the whole ribeye apart, the spinalis, which is the top of the top cap on top of the rib. That's the beautiful soft tissue up there. Then we take the ribeye fillet itself separately, and then we actually debone it, and we have the whole back rib there too. So if you cook that and prepare that in 3 different applications, it's a wow, because you've taken the whole ribeye and you've done something to it in 3 different cooking methods or applications. Either it's barbecue, a strip fillet, or a spinalis lollipop. It is just unbelievable. And it's great for wine dinners. It's great to impress. It's just, I that's my favorite.
Yeah. I mean, you're taking something that's already kind of a wow and making it
a wower.
Is wowie a word?
How about wowie? I used to use wowie. Yeah, wowie.
Wow, it's like Adam West Batman, right? All right, let's turn the page and get into some specific dishes that we have enjoyed. Obviously, it's been a difficult year for restaurants, and one of the cool things that you see is, and it's certainly not a year that we'd ever wish on anybody to go through again, but sometimes innovation comes out of necessity, right? And so you see, if there was ever an impetus to try something new, maybe something that could make you some additional money, something that's going to lower your food costs, something that's going to help keep this ship afloat, right? 2020 was a great year to try new things, right? One of my favorite things that I had yet to see in a restaurant, Greg Garbo, I apologize, because we're going to talk about the sirloin flap once again.
Love that.
Love the sirloin flap, right? It's like a skirt steak, but honestly, a little thicker, I prefer it over an outside skirt. But, and this was actually plucked straight from your playbook and menued over our friends over at South Street Grill in Ashland, which is actually, it's my home in Ashland, Ohio. It's halfway between Cleveland and Columbus. If you're on I-71, you know how you know Ashland? Grandpa's Cheese Barn is the exit.
I know that, yes.
So stop by, get yourself some cheese, and come on into town. South Street Grill, they have a thing called steak bombs on the menu, and what these are, you know what? This is out of your brain. Tell us about steak bombs.
Okay, Bostonians, we've changed the name, okay? Now, you know it as the Boston Steak Tips. Well, our friends from Ashland came over to Certified Angus Beef via Bryan Chef, and we did a nice ideation one day. They're opening up a steakhouse. They wanted some new ideas, and I gave them my Boston Steak Tips recipe, okay, a.k.a. steak bombs. So I'm going to give you the recipe here, so you better write it down quickly because I'm going to go real fast, all right? And so basically it's a marinade of some really good, high-quality Kentucky bourbon, a little bit of Italian dressing, okay, garlic, I put a little bit of Worcestershire sauce in here. I always sneak in a little bit of A1 sauce in there too because I have it on hand. Lots of black pepper, salt, and I put those in and Coca-Cola and a little bit of brown sugar. Yeah. Oh, Coca-Cola. You need sugar to caramelize these pieces when you're cooking them. Sirloin flap is perfect for this because it holds up to marinate unbelievable, especially over 24 hours. The beef is marinated in plastic bags, and then we just take them out and make sure you have a hot grill or a really hot cast iron pan, and you're just searing these. I mean, you don't want any liquid. You don't want any poaching. I always tell chefs, you're not poaching. You're really searing and grilling and charring here. You get those babies really hot, and you serve that with a creamy blue cheese dressing on the side or a hot sauce. Oh, my goodness.
All day long.
Wow.
Oh, they're so good. So good. I like to get mine, and this is the only time I think in the history of this podcast I've actually admitted to eating vegetables. Or as I saw them referred to as dirt candy. But I feel like that makes it sound like I like vegetables.
There's a restaurant called Dirt Candy in New York. Yeah.
I can get that one.
And they do a broccoli hot dog.
Yeah.
Would you eat a broccoli hot dog?
Only if it had a real hot dog underneath it. But they serve them. You can get a nice, I love a simple Brussels sprout with a little balsamic glaze, right? I know it's like, balsamic glaze has been around. Balsamic glaze is delicious.
Nobody used to like Brussels sprouts until some genius came up, right? And cut them in half, threw them in the deep fat fryer, and they became crispy, a different flavor. Balsamic is one way, and then you could put like a honey mustard and Parmesan cheese and glaze them under the broiler. That's one of my favorites. Fantastic. I've had that. That's pretty good.
Maybe dress them up with little bacon bits.
A little. Oh my gosh, you're killing me.
Chef, you got anything you want to call out here? Favorite dish that you've enjoyed over the past?
Well, I tell you, I one of the most innovative dishes. I know this is going to sound really crazy and dumb, but I love cowfish and outside of Charlotte. If you ever go there, it's a really cool restaurant where they do burgers and sushi. Probably the first one. It became so popular they have one at Universal Studios in Orlando. That's how popular it is and good it is. But I had something that was called the burgushi. Now, you really have to blow my mind because I've eaten all over the world, right? But I ordered the burgushi, and I gotta tell you, I was blown away. Yeah. Okay. Let me tell you, it's a soy wrapper,
nice and
not
crispy.
a nori, and regular sushi rice, and they do a ground beef like a ground certified Angus beef, into a burger. They put your favorite cheese on there. What do you want? Like a little American? You want
on a burger?
You want some cheddar? You want some cheddar cheese?
You
put a little cheddar cheese on there, right? Okay, you roll that up, and then it's not done yet. They wrap this in stringy potato, so you have to have a little Japanese mandolin to make the string potato, and they wrap that from end to end, and they deep fry it.
Yeah.
Did you have me a deep fried?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
Yeah. Oh,
okay. Yeah. So when that comes out, you got this golden brown crust, which is the potato, and then you slice that, and you slice the sushi roll, and we're not done yet, Brian. Okay. Ketchup, mustard, and mayo in a squirt bottle all over it, and then onion, pickle, and tomato.
It's a cheeseburger.
I'm telling you, something so simple. And they just can't keep up with it. Yeah. I mean, there's one person back. I went in the back of the restaurant. They showed me how to do it because they're partners of ours. And it was just like, I came back into the center. I had to do it. It's actually addicting, seriously. I mean, it's really good.
Oh,
that was my favorite dish.
Yeah. I had that.
Yeah.
Cowfish. Last year you made that. It was fantastic.
Last year I made it. It's good. I mean, to blow people away, you really got to do the sushi. You got to do this roll. It's amazing.
I'm with you. All right, let's change gears. Let's talk about side dishes, right? And it doesn't. I know this is the Meat Speak podcast. We are powered by a certified Angus beef, right? But you don't have to have beef even in your side. Now, sometimes if you do, like, bonus points, right?
Right.
But, Chef, what's your favorite side dish?
I'll tell you what. I got so many, Brian. I know you do. I mean, I love everything. They go from Merlot French fries to, Merlot French fries is one of my favorites. We just talked about the Brussels sprouts, deep fried, amazing. But I think one of my favorites, and it goes back to my childhood, lobster. Now, who doesn't like lobster mac and cheese from Red the Steakhouse in Cleveland?
Yeah.
I got to tell you.
Yeah.
Little panko breadcrumbs on top of there, melted butter. It's just sickening delicious.
Yeah.
And I could order that instead of a steak.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that, but really, I could order a double side of that.
Tell you what, you could do that, and I'll eat your
What's
steak.
yours? What's your favorite?
Steak,
What's your favorite?
Well, I will say, so not only Cleveland, but don't forget our pal
Miami.
Peter Voti down in South Beach, right?
Peter, I love you, baby. Hope you're listening to this because
that man makes some mean lobster mac and cheese.
He's a great chef. He's amazing.
So good. I dig one of the things that just blew my mind, right? And to your credit, like I eat like all the time, right? I was a vegetarian.
You and I
for
are
about
professional
3 hours.
eaters. Do you know that?
Right?
I mean, we can tell too, right? We should be a tag team for WWF, the professional eaters.
I don't know how I'd look in a singlet though.
I don't think I look good in a French tickler.
Okay, so if you are in Chicago, which fortunately a lot of people are, right? We've got lots of amazing options in Chicago, right? If you get downtown, go down to Fulton Market, right? Dave Bonner is the chef pitmaster at Green Street Smoked Meats, right? Right up, right? So good, so good. Phenomenal barbecue. But his side dish, he makes an elote, right? But it's not an on-the-cob Mexican street corn. It's off the cob. So it is... It's all of those flavors that you would get off a portable Mexican street corn, but you're just shoveling it into your mouth.
Oh my God!
My complaint with corn on the cob is you don't get a whole lot with each bite,
right?
But you can just make a vat of this and just just shovel it in. Woo, Nelly!
Yeah, man, you had me at Cojita. Okay,
so
wow,
good. So good. Little mayo, right? Little cilantro.
Oh, lime.
Oh, gosh.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Actually.
So highly. I mean,
I love it.
Yeah, Green Street Smoked Meats, Fulton Market, Chicago.
I love that.
And while you're there, make dinner plans. Go out and see, the guard bows at CCK. Go see Casey Galbro at Foxfire. Stephanie.
I love them.
Right,
Yeah.
Stephanie Izard. Actually, Stephanie's right around the corner. She's that close. So, yeah, so good, so good. Big fan. Let's talk about stories, right? It's been obviously it's been an interesting year, and so out of it have come some really interesting stories, some stories that make you realize how much people really care about the industry. I mean, you could go a lot of ways. I know our buddy Glenn Wheeler from Spencer's in Omaha took a bunch of meat. He has a big steakhouse downtown that's heavily reliant on downtown Omaha business, tourists, people coming in to go to the college baseball World Series, going to, I think it's the CenturyLink Stadium down the street where they have concerts. And when they closed up, he kept cooking and he kept feeding first responders. He launched a program to feed kids who were no longer getting school lunches. And Glenn, being sort of an icon in Omaha, got a lot of the chefs in town behind him, and just a really feel-good initiative. And there were lots of little things like that would have happened in the past year where you realize, man, the humanity that exists in the restaurant industry is it's amazing, right? The one that I wanted to call out, though, was specifically down at a place called Los Tanidos, which is just south
Carla.
Carla
my baby.
Di Lorenzo, right? Just south of Miami International Airport.
She makes the best empanadas in the world.
She's got a
homemade
whole case.
I mean, she sends us. One day you got a box, right? I call Brian. Brian, did you order empanadas? Because I'm going to steal yours and take yours home. Carla, if you're listening, oh my gosh. You're not done yet. We're going to have you another event here, darling, so you're going to have to come and make your empanada.
Oh, yeah. They're that good. And if you go into the restaurant, there is a like a glass case. Every day it's just stuffed with empanadas.
Does she make a cheesecake empanada? I want to know.
I don't know.
I tell you what, that'd be kind of cool, right?
I would eat it.
Cheesecake.
Right?
Me too. My God.
But Los Tanidos, it's a meat market, it's a restaurant, it's all sorts of things, right? Down outside of Miami, and during the pandemic, they had to reduce staff, right? And it's Carla and her brother. They both stayed on to keep the business keep the business running. They ran it 7 days a week. They were the only 2 people working there for months and months and months,
Incredible.
just trying to keep the lights turned on, trying to keep in business, trying to do that. And I'm sure that they are not the only ones who are in that boat, but you've reduced your staff only down to the brother and sister who are the the brain
Incredible.
power, who run it, and they're back. They've withstood it, and God bless you for keeping pushing. So
Bravo! I mean, these are philanthropic acts. I'm blown away by the folks that came to bat for the restaurant, the industry, our industry. We're in this industry,
Yeah.
We've worked it. We've been there. We've done this. We've had a. I mean, this is kind of like the one and only industry that just weathers lots of storms.
Yeah.
But these are people who give all the time, like you mentioned, Glenn. I mean, myself, I witnessed so many great things, and it was just, it's heartwarming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. On my little note sheet, I actually called it the best original screenplay, right?
Yes.
Because although we've gotten it right, I mean, we're still calling these the Tonys. So,
Yes.
got to make sure we tie it back to that, right?
I noticed a lot of folks like hiring chefs for their homes.
Yeah.
That's I see that industry just booming. I mean, people, are afraid to go out still.
Yeah.
But they want high quality.
Yep.
And they don't mind paying for it. And they want somebody that's a little bit fun to come to their house and put on the dog and pony show and have great food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they have you to their house, they
Yeah.
so they put in some bunk beds, top bunk or lower bunk. What are you choosing?
Well, it depends, how long this. I'd have to charge them overtime for this, Yeah.
On that note, Chef, any parting shots as we begin to put a bow on this? There's lots of stories out there, and if we didn't mention you, please know it was certainly not intentional. We're always curious to hear about additional stories, additional dishes. The restaurant industry is coming back, state by state. Feels like we're on the way back, and hopefully next year at this time, we are able to celebrate without this constant drumbeat of, remember last year?
I'm going to wear my tuxedo next year for the Tonys. This, and my red bow tie,
right?
Yeah, and my slippers.
I'm going to get out my high heels.
You sure? I'm looking forward to this.
It's going to be great.
It's unbelievable.
If this is your first time listening to the Meat Speak podcast, powered by the certified Angus beef brand, please know that you can find us across all of your major podcasting platforms: Google Play, Apple, Spotify, and a glut of others that I have never even knew existed. Or you could simply visit certifiedangusbeef.com/podcast, right? This is season 2. We are nearing the end of season 2 before we take a little bit of a hiatus for summer. But do catch up on everything that's happened this past year. Go back to season 1, soak it up. We mentioned it already. Go back and absorb the shank episode with our buddy Vinoy Rogers. Take Tony's advice. It's a great piece of meat that can be procured for a nice price.
Yes, love it. Oh my gosh.
Giddy up. On behalf of the Certified Angus Beef Band, Chef Tony Biggs, Diana Clark, who's not here today, we appreciate you for listening to the Meat Speak podcast, powered by the Certified Angus Beef Brand.